All right, we are live on YouTube. Welcome to Navigating the Modern World with Coach Eli. Glad you could all join me here tonight. If you're here live, it is Sunday night, Sunday, November 6, 2022. If you're here on the replay, please stick around and check out the entire Positivity Challenge going back to day one. Now, I'll share more about the Positivity Challenge here in just a little bit in case you're tuning in for the first time since we started this 6 days ago. But before we get to that, let me first of all make sure that the YouTube notification goes out. Give me just a second here, please. Ooh. Wait for it. Come on, YouTube. There goes the back end. The back end's rolling smoothly. And just waiting. There goes notification. We are all good. All right, we're all set to go. Hey, Tom, thank you for the thumbs up in the chat there before the show started. If you're still around, feel free to ask any questions that you may have. Awesome Skeleton is in the house. Sup, Eli? How are you doing today? I'm doing quite well. Thanks for asking. There is a 1-minute delay between what I say here and what goes out to you folks in the chat. I just like to remind you folks about that all the time because, it's going to take a little while for me to respond. We do that as a safety measure here on the in-studio streams in case we need to dump the delay. But unfortunately, tonight, my beautiful, wonderful, amazing lady will not be joining me. She is resting, kicking back on the couch. And she may be popping in from time to time in the chat. She will be moderating, and I'll be moderating too. So if you want to say hello to her, feel free to do so. She will be periodically checking in within the live chat. All right, so tonight is day 6 of the 30-day Positivity Challenge. And I have dubbed this show, Stop Your Misery. One more time, it's day 6 of the 30-day Positivity Challenge, and this episode is called Stop Your Misery. Awesome Skeleton says, I'm doing good. That's great. Thanks, man. Thank you for sharing that. Glad to hear that you're doing well. Angie C is here in the house. Welcome, Angie. A reminder once again, there is a 1-minute delay between what I say here and what goes out to the live chat. So if it takes me a little bit longer than normal to respond, please forgive me. I'll get to you folks in the chat as soon as possible. Okay, so to quickly explain what the 30-day Positivity Challenge is, in case you're, tuning in for the first time, it's pretty simple. It's something that my lady and I wanted to do to bring more positivity to the world, especially more positivity out here on YouTube, because I've got to tell you folks, and I'm not saying this to be rude. I'm not saying this to trigger anyone or upset anyone, but people are going to get upset because that's what miserable people do. Miserable people get upset when positive, happy people like me talk about this. But I'm not talking about this to try to upset you. I'm talking about this to hopefully be able to get through to you and say that, hey, it's just not worth it to be miserable. It's not worth it to, not love yourself. It's not worth it to talk shit about people in the real world, out here on YouTube or any other social media platform. And tonight I have a blog I'm going to be going over with 8 bullet points regarding, why people are miserable. We're going to get to that in a second. I thought it was very well written, and I'm going to put my own spin on it, and it's going to make a lot of sense. So we'll get to that in a second. But what the 30-day Positivity Challenge is for the next remainder of the challenge, for the next 24 days, my lady and I are going to be looking to see who is the most positive person in our live stream chats. And we're only allowing positivity here on the channel from here on out. We still want you to be able to have your say. We're not saying that we're trying to take away your freedom of speech. It's not about that. You can ask any questions that you want, but make sure that it's stated in a constructive and positive way. I understand we all go through negative things, right? So feel free to share your stories of negativity in a positive way and what you're trying to do or what you've done to turn it around into a positive. What we're not allowing here is people, coming into this chat and trying to talk smack about other YouTubers and what they do on other people's channels. This is not what this channel is about. This is not what any of my channels are about. I'm not about that. I'm really tired of that, and there's a zero tolerance for that. And if people come in here and try to do that, whether you're a moderator or a regular, consumer of content, you'll be removed right away and you'll never come back. That's just the bottom line. That's the way we're handling things here. We've, mentioned this many, many times. We've given lots of people many, many chances. And you know what? I'm just not going to babysit grown-ass adults that don't want to behave maturely anymore. Okay? So if you don't participate, in a positive way, you might as well not show up at all. All right. So in the meantime, while I, get to this blog here, again, feel free to share your stories in the chat. Share with us, how your days have been lately. Share with us anything that you've been struggling with that is possibly throwing you off a little bit, and what you're doing to try to turn it around. Or if you're trying to accomplish something, but it's just not going anywhere, feel free to share that story in the chat. And in between myself going over this blog with these 8 bullet points, I will respond to the chat when I get a chance. So with that being said, let's switch on over to the browser screen. And this blog was formatted a little bit weird. The title was on the top left, and then the blog part was on the right. So you're not going to see the title there. I'll just read it. This is from the blog site elitedaily.com. And it's titled 8 Things That Only Truly Miserable People Do. One more time, 8 Things That Only Truly Miserable People Do. This is really good. This is really, really good. All right. Would you say some people or most people are miserable? I'd say probably about half the people in this world and half the people I've encountered out here on the YouTube platform are absolutely fucking miserable. Period. End of story. Have a good night, everyone. No, just kidding. It is hard to tell these days. Not really. If you've been around these YouTube streets for a while, or if you've lived life for a while, I mean, you can tell when somebody's truly miserable, especially if you're a happy person that loves themselves. You can identify, you can spot miserable people a mile away. And if you're anything like me, you just ignore these people. You may say hello and you may try to help them out, but if they continue to, bring negativity your way, you just politely walk away and ignore and don't participate with those people anymore. With all the fake drama everyone seems to be indulging in, wow. When I first read this, I was like, wow, this is perfect. With all the fake drama everyone seems to be indulging in, one has a difficult time telling whether or not people hate their lives as much as they say they do, or if they are simply reenacting an episode from the Jersey Shore. I never watched the Jersey Shore. I'm not a big fan of fake television drama. I'm not a fan at all of drama on YouTube, especially fake instigated drama. So yeah, that one really, really touched me there. Miserable people do exist, but I would like to believe there aren't as many miserable people out there as there would seem to be. Well, unfortunately, blog author, there are a ton of miserable people out there, and I've encountered many of them. Why? Because I'm a happy and positive person. Have I made mistakes? Sure. But I've worked through my mistakes, I've apologized for my mistakes, and I've moved on. But some people just can't seem to let shit go. So there are a shit ton of negative people out there, miserable people out there. They're negative because They're miserable and they simply just don't love themselves. With everyone complaining all over social media outlets all the time, ooh, that is so noteworthy to read twice. With everyone complaining all over social media outlets all the time, especially out here on YouTube, you could only conclude that everyone in the whole world hates their lives. I wouldn't say everyone, I'd say probably about half the people. But this can't be true. Oh, yes, it can, and it is. There are a few signs that are dead giveaways, however. Here are 8 of them. Wow. That first paragraph regarding the prelude really, really hit me. Well said there. Let's check out the chat here real quick. Tom says, what's up, Eli? Just showing some positive support. Thumbs up. Thank you, bro. Folks, please smash the thumbs up here. And also share this out on your community tabs. Share it out on social media. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe and bang the bell. Select all notifications. Also subscribe to my main channel. Nightbot just shared my link in the chat a few minutes ago. If you're here on the replay, go in the description a couple of lines down, and you can subscribe to my main channel, or just go to youtube.com/LifeCoachEli. I'll be putting out some more content, pre-recorded content, and YouTube shorts this coming week on that channel. And there's also like well over 1,000 pieces of content on that channel, pre-recorded and live stream replays. You know, I used to do all my live streams over there before I moved into this channel about 3 months ago or so, when this channel got monetized. And that main channel has been monetized for almost 3 years. So that is that. Okie dokie. Back to the blog. Number 1. So I'm going to go through the first 4 of these, and then I'm going to step away and take a break. And then I'm going to come back and do the second 4. They manage to find the worst in everything. That's miserable people. Miserable people manage to find the worst in everything. Always finding the downside. Well, why is that? It's because they don't love themselves. It's because they've been through so much. They feel they've tried so hard to do things the right ways, and people just are failing them, or they feel people are failing them. They're just unhappy people. Maybe they're struggling, because they weren't raised, the right way. For whatever reason, these people are miserable, and they try to find the worst in everything, always finding the downside. A miserable person is miserable because the way he or she views the world is miserable. I couldn't have said it better myself. One more time. A miserable person is miserable because the way he or she views the world is miserable. Their thought processes have been molded to always see the worst of every situation, the worst of every person, and the worst of any possible future scenario. And why is that? Because they lack self-love. They lack self-respect. Okay? And it's based on the way they were raised. Maybe they came from a broken household. Okay. Maybe they were spoiled and now they feel entitled. We're dealing a lot with that nowadays regarding the millennial generation and even some of the Gen Zers. It's gotten better with the Gen Zers, but it's still happening. It's still the millennial generation and ways that they were raised has kind of spilled over to the Gen Zers. But they're trying to do a better job to turn things around. But the bottom line is it all boils down to a lack of self-love. Whenever somebody, looks at everything in the worst possible way, it always has to do with a projection onto somebody that they perceive to be better than them or want to be like. And they try to kick that person down by always seeing the worst of every situation, the worst of every person, and the worst of any possible future scenario. It's just a lot of negativity because of a lack of self-love. That's all it is. And again, it's a projection and a major insecurity too. They manage to find the bad in any good you throw their way. Yeah. That's absolutely true. They manage to find the bad in any good you throw their way. I have tried and tried and tried and tried and tried again so many times to help so many people out here on this YouTube platform that I obviously can tell they're miserable, right? But they're just not open to the help. Most of them are not open to the help. And the ones that are open to the help, they may come around for a little while, and then they just give up, right? If you want to turn your life around and not be miserable anymore, you need to constantly work on yourself. You need to constantly focus on, personal development type of content that's going to inspire you and motivate you to become the best possible version of yourself you can be. It's not a quick fix, which is what I'm trying to say. It's a lifetime. It's a lifetime thing. You got to start now and you got to keep it going for the rest of your life. If not, you're just going to be miserable. Miserable people will point out the bad in any situation simply for the sake of glooming down the party. Boy, I've been saying that for years, right? Let me read that again. Miserable people will point out the bad in any situation simply for the sake of glooming down the party. So in essence, they feel that, if they are going to be miserable, then you should be miserable right along with them. Misery attracts company, right? Right? And again, it boils down to one thing, a lack of self-love. A lack of self-love. If you learn to love yourself, you will understand that, how you see the world is how the rest of the world is going to see you. If you're miserable, the world is going to see you as miserable, and they're not going to want to be around you, or at least the right people are not going to want to be around you. The only people you will attract are other miserable people to further your misery. So you can attract more miserable people and become more miserable together than you already are. Or you can turn your attitude around and say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm tired of being miserable. I'm going to learn to better love myself. I'm going to focus on positivity. I'm not going to attack people anymore. I'm not going to project onto people anymore. I'm just going to be a kind, down-to-earth person, and I'm going to attract more positive people in my life, and eventually things will be just amazing because I'll be surrounded with positivity, not negativity, right? Not that they would be at a party. Miserable people tend to avoid these. Well, yeah, most of the time, miserable people will stay at home and rot because they feel such a lack of self-love, and they're just so embarrassed within themselves. They will never admit it, but they're so embarrassed within themselves regarding their misery that they don't want to allow other people to see that. But what's really strange is that a lot of these people now, they'll come out here on YouTube and they'll project their misery onto positive content creators like myself. That's what they do because they don't have to get their ass out of their, or off their couch or out of their seats. They can just do that from their smartphone, right? All right, so that's number one there. Let me check out the chat real quick here. All right, we're good. Number two, they hate their friends. Misery loves company. Yeah, that's the famous phrase, and it's absolutely true. But a company of miserable bastards doesn't necessarily like one another very much. Right. This is so funny to me. And, I've seen this in the real world in my younger days when I used to behave miserably. I had my miserable, times in my life in my younger days. So I understand, what it's like to be miserable and to hang around other miserable people. Because when you're miserable and you attract other miserable people, you think or you feel that that's the best way to work through it because you're surrounding yourself with like-minded people. Well, you are surrounding yourself with like-minded people, but it's the wrong type of like-minded people because all other miserable people are going to do is further bring you down and make you even more miserable. So that's not the right way to look at it. So yeah, Makes sense. But a company of miserable bastards doesn't necessarily like one another very much. No, they don't like one another, and they don't like themselves. Miserable individuals seem to make friends with other miserable individuals. That's pretty common out here on YouTube. I mean, it's so funny to me. There are a lot of people that don't like me on YouTube, right? For no reason at all, simply because of the fact that I'm a happy person. That's the only thing I can come up with, right? And so what do? They go and they talk about me, and then they have a bunch of other like-minded, miserable people, talking smack about me at the same time. This is just for example purposes. I'm not trying to stir the pot up or anything. I'm just saying this is absolutely true. Miserable individuals seem to make friends with other miserable individuals. Yeah, because I don't want them around. I don't want negativity or misery in my live stream chats or in my personal life, my real life. I don't want misery anywhere. I'm not sure whether they find themselves friends who already happen to be miserable or if they turn their joyful friends into miserable shrews. It's a combination of both. I've seen it happen. Here's the thing. If you're a positive person like myself and you start to hang out with other people that at first you couldn't tell they were miserable, but then they started becoming miserable. Once you figure out if they're once you figure out that they are miserable, if you don't withdraw, you're basically participating along with them in their misery. And they're going to bring you down with them. That happened to me years ago on YouTube, right? But fortunately, I learned how to step away from those people and continue moving forward in a positive way, right? So sometimes you're not going to figure it out right away, okay? But, in most cases, miserable people are naturally attracted to other miserable people because they're in the same, position, right? So it's easy to communicate with them, but it's not doing you any good. It's a disservice. It's doing you a disservice, right? But those who hang out with miserable people tend to be pretty miserable themselves. I mean, this is so hilarious reading this blog. It all stems back to the same thing. Those who hang out with miserable people tend to be pretty miserable themselves. Yeah, like attracts like, misery attracts company, however you want to say it, right? You are who you associate with. I've said that many times. You are who you associate with. Folks, please get any questions in the chat. So far, no questions. We're good. I mean, why the hell else would they put up with someone so unhappy? Because the people that are positive people don't want to be around them. And they feel they can't relate to positive people. And instead, what they do with the positive people like me is they try to suck me into their vortex of misery or drama and try to kick me down to their level so that way they can make themselves feel better. Because miserable people, their goal is to knock down the happy people, which will temporarily make them feel happy, like they accomplished something. But quite honestly, it's temporary satisfaction. And it's really not satisfying at all. It's not. It's not. Not even quietly unhappy, but loudly unhappy. Okay, let me read that again. I mean, why the hell else would they put up with someone so unhappy? Not even quietly unhappy, but loudly unhappy. Okay, so what that's saying is that there are people out there that are blatantly miserable, blatantly unhappy. It is extremely obvious that they are miserable and unhappy. So why do certain people put up with that? Well, they put up with it because they're the same and they're relating to those people. And that's where these miserable people get confused. They think, okay, if I hang around other people that are like me, I'm going to feel better about myself. No, you're going to feel more miserable together. That's what you're not getting. Miserable people like to make sure you know they're miserable. Oh, absolutely. They go way out of their way to let me know how miserable they are. Yeah. Like, I don't think there's anyone out here on YouTube that has been projected upon more than myself. People have been projecting their misery onto me for the last 5 years. And I've come to the realization and gotten to the point of it's rather comical. I look at it as endearing. And at the same time, no matter what these people say about me, I feel really, really sorry for them. And I wish they would really get a grip on their lives and start turning their shit around. Yeah. For this reason, it seems that only miserable people are capable of putting up with other miserable people. Wow, haven't I been saying that for the last 5 or 10 minutes? Let's read that one more time. Food for thought. For this reason, it seems that only miserable people are capable of putting up with other miserable people. And here's a great line to end number 2. It's almost like a cult. Wow, it's almost like a cult. I'm going to give the blog author a big round of applause for that one. That's a great way to look at it. Miserable people conglomerate together with other miserable people in a cult-like environment. It's a cult of misery. It's a cult of misery. There was that song by Living Colour called Cult of Personality back in the days, decades ago. We're going to call these miserable people the Cult of Misery. Now, somebody will create a sock account out there saying Cult of Misery. Cult of Misery number 1, Cult of Misery number 2. It's so funny to me, all these miserable people that follow me on YouTube or watch me in some capacity, right? They like to replicate everything I do. And I see this and I'm like, wow, that's quite endearing. Wow, you're dedicating that much time to little old me? Okay. All right, that's cool. That's cool. All right, let's continue here. We're at number 3. Give me just a second here. Do 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 do. Just a second, please. All right, number 3. Number 3, they spend as much time as possible distracting themselves from reality. Wow. One more time, they spend as much time as possible distracting themselves from reality. Oh, man. I've seen this in the real world back in the days, in my younger days. As I've gotten older in the real world, I've just learned to not associate with these types of people. Out here on YouTube, because it's a shared platform, I run into these people all the time. Or they run into me, or they just put themselves in front of me all the time. And it's like, I don't even want to deal with them, but they feel that they need to come and deal with me for some reason. I don't know. Their lives suck. Yeah, they do. Let me repeat that one more time. Their lives suck. Well, they believe their lives suck. That's a good point. When I first read this, I was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So the reason why these people spend as much time as possible distracting themselves from reality, okay, is because they feel that their lives suck. At least they believe their lives suck. The truth of the matter is, their lives don't suck, or they don't have to suck. Okay? It's basically, up to them how they decide to show up each and every day. You can show up with positivity and be nice to people, or you can show up with negativity and be crappy to everybody. It's up to you how you want to show up and how you want to approach other people. And because they believe their lives suck, they do their best to distract themselves from it as often and for as long as possible. Now, here are some of the things they do. They drink. Yes, some drink. They do drugs. Some do drugs. Yeah, I've even heard of many people out here on YouTube have done drugs. Many people in the real world have done drugs. And lots of people drink, So, nothing wrong nothing wrong with having a drink, but if you're drinking constantly and excessively to, numb the pain of your misery, that's an issue. If you're doing, illegal drugs to mask the pain, that's even worse in my opinion. You got to get help. They indulge in other indulgences like reading, watching movies, watching TV for hours on end. Pick your poison. In essence, what they're doing is rotting their life away because they're so miserable. They don't feel worthy of being a productive part of society. Pick your poison. The problem is they are trying to get away from something they can't get away from. Whoa, wow. Food for thought. One more time. The problem is they are trying to get away from something they can't get away from. Yeah. Well, they could get away from it if they made that choice. If they decided one day and said, fuck it. I'm done with being miserable. I'm done with being pathetic. I'm done with being extremely insecure. I'm done with all this crap. Hi, babe. How you? I'm done with all this crap too. Hi, babe. Are you done surrounding yourself with miserable people, baby? Oh my That's God. What we're talking about tonight. Yeah. So much so. Yeah, baby. Do you consider me to be miserable? No. Why is that? Because you project positivity every single day. Thank you. Every single day. Thank you. And this morning, I had a beautiful conversation with two ladies that are in our mod chat that also project positivity every day, and that's what I want to be a part of. Amen. Amen, my beautiful love. All right. My lady just passed on by. Excellent. Yeah, like the last line I read there said, the problem is they are trying to get away from something they can't get away from. And again, they can choose to get away from it. They can start to make the change now. And look, they can come over here and hang out with us. Just come to our live streams, hang out with us. It won't even cost you anything. Unless you want to donate, that's cool. We would appreciate that. But you can come over here and start feeling better about yourself with people that are going to accept you for who you are and help you learn to love yourself more. And the rest will just fall into place. But you got to show up. You have to allow us to help you. And then you also have to participate in your own rescue. Reality isn't a choice. It is a state of existence. That's true. What's real is real. You can't change reality, right? You exist and function within reality, whether you like it or not. Well, another food for thought there. I mean, this blog, it's making some very obvious statements. So to those of us that are positive people already, this is going to bore you. Or you'll just be like, yeah, this is something we've heard before and we live by this, right? To the negative people, they also know this is boring stuff. And this is stuff that they know they need to be like, but they're just choosing to not be this way. So what this blog is doing is trying to positively reinforce you to stop being negative and take the actions to become a more positive person. Stop being a miserable person and become more of a happy person. It's a choice that you can make. You're just not ready to make that choice yet. So yeah, one more time, reality isn't a choice. It is a state of existence. You exist and function within reality, whether you like it or not. Trying to get away from it will only make you more miserable. Huh. So trying to get away from reality will only make you more miserable because you are further avoiding the realistic aspects of the world instead of, becoming a better person and learning how to deal with it accordingly like most normal, reasonable, happy people would or do. All right, we're at number 4. We're going to take a quick break after number 4 here. It's going to be a quick show tonight. We're at 34 minutes. Yeah, not a whole lot of people here tonight, but that is okay. No problem. People can watch the replay. Number 4, the first thing they do every morning is get pissed off about having to get up. One more time. The first thing they do every morning is get pissed off about having to get up. You know, when I was in my teens and my 20s, you know, especially when I was in grammar school and high school, I didn't want to get out of bed. I've always been the kind of person that typically cannot get to bed before midnight, sometimes before 1 a.m. And that used to even happen to me when I was in grammar school and in high school. So, you know, I'd go to bed about 12 o'clock midnight. In order to be at school on time, I had to be up by 6:30 in the morning. I'm not a morning person. I'm a night person. And, you know, it would just make me unhappy. You know, when I was younger, my mother and my father would come in and try to wake me up, and I'd be like, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. They would let me sleep 5 more minutes, and I would say 5 more minutes after that. And then my mom and dad would just say, you got to get up now, you know. So it's like when they would raise their voice, that meant business. I got up and got ready. But, you know, when I was younger during those days, you know, I'm not going to lie, you know, I didn't love myself as much. And, you know, I was at least somewhat miserable back then. So even just getting up in the morning would piss me off because I didn't want to tackle the world. I didn't. I just wanted to sleep all day. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to sleep my misery away. Give me a second here. Let's see. We all have those days we don't want to get out of bed. Yeah, that can be normal even for normal people. But for miserable people, it's a common thing. The miserable person, on the other hand, wakes up every day with that thought process. Right. When you don't like your life, you aren't especially thrilled to wake up and live it. I really love how direct this blog is. Like for you miserable people out here on YouTube or anywhere else, right? Well, if you're watching this, it's on YouTube, so I said it right. To you miserable people out here on YouTube, okay? You know, you're miserable because you just don't like your life. You don't like how one aspect or many aspects are, you know, going in your life. So you're not even thrilled to wake up and live it because you're just unhappy. Let me read further here, and I'll comment more on these miserable people. The problem is starting your day dreading the following hours only makes things worse. Right. Right. The bottom line is this. Okay. No one can make you happy until you make yourself happy first. No one's going to want to be around you to make you happy unless you exude happiness first. Okay? That's just the way it goes. Right? And until you miserable people understand that and stop going down that rabbit hole of misery each and every day, it's never going to turn around. Right? And a lot of you miserable people out here on YouTube that project onto myself and my lady and you know, other people out here, you do it simply because you wish you could be in a happy place like we're in, right? And we're not sitting here trying to throw it in your face. We're saying that there's no other logical explanation on why people behave miserable besides the fact that they wish they could be like the happy people they project upon. That's it. That's the bottom line. There's no other logical explanation for that. It is what it is. So, when you don't like your life, excuse me a second. When you don't like your life, you aren't especially thrilled to wake up and live it. I said that. The problem is starting your day dreading the following hours only makes things worse. Going from a miserable person to a happy one has to start in the moment you wake up. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Going from a miserable person to a happy one has to start in the moment you wake up. I'm going to continue to sound like a broken record until more and more and more people turn their pathetic, lonely, and miserable lives around. And all you have to do is this. Like it says here. Okay? Going from a miserable person to a happy one has to start in the moment you wake up. So when you wake up in the morning, go to your mirror and look yourself in the mirror and say, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. 5 fucking times. Okay? 5 times. Right? And if that doesn't make you feel good, do it 5 more times. And keep doing it 5 times in a row until you feel good, until you sit there and start laughing at yourself and you say, damn, this is stupid. I'm saying I love myself, but you want to know what? I really don't love myself. And maybe I should, because this is really dumb for me to have to get up in the morning and look at myself in the mirror and say I love myself, right? That's what it's going to take. That's all it takes. And then when you're like, you know what? Yeah, it's not worth being miserable. I'm going to be happy. And I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to be nice to everyone today, no matter what happens. No matter what, I'm just going to choose to be happy. That's where it starts. Start happy, and staying happy will be easier. Wow, start happy, and staying happy will be easier. So if you start your day on a positive note, it's going to be a lot easier, to stay happy for the remainder of the day, regardless of what happens. Now, things come up, folks. Even the best of us deal with some crazy things on a daily basis. And in some cases, there are crazier days than others. So there's nothing wrong with having some moments where you feel down and stuff, but it's how you handle it, how you snap out of it and keep on moving forward. That's going to make the difference. It's going to make all the difference if you handle it that way. All right. So we've gone through the first 4. We have 5 more to go. 5 more to go. Not a whole lot going on in the chat, but that is okay. That is okay. I'm going to queue up. Let me head back over to full screen. And I'm going to queue up some royalty-free YouTube music and step away for a quick break. We are at 42, just about to turn to 43 minutes. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Boo-doo-boo-boo. Let me see here. Boo-doo-boo-boo-doo-boo-doo-boo. I'm trying to play some music I haven't played lately. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. That's 2. My Twitter's going off. There's a lot of stuff happening on Twitter right now. It's involving Elon Musk, and I'm trying to keep my nose out of that stuff. Let me see here. I just need one more. All right, music is all queued up. I'm going to step away for an 8 or 9 minute break, and when we return, we are going to get back to the blog. 8 things that only truly miserable people do. In the meantime, please get your questions in the chat. Please share your stories of anything you're struggling with, and I will do my best to help you work through it. I will be going through the chat when I get back and in between the remainder of the blog. So stick around. Round. We'll be right Oops. Hold on a second. There's something going on here. There's something going on with the sound. Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Break, and when we return, we are going to get back to the block. 8 things.
Yeah, give me a second here, folks. I heard some choppiness. I heard it really, really, really choppy there. I can do one thing here, and I think that's going to fix it. Give me a second. Hoping that relaunching the music program will fix that. All right, let's try it again. We'll be right. Right. We're back. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Yeah. Yeah, feel it. Pump it up. I want you all to feel good. We have 5 people here, and you are 5 amazing, positive people, and lots more to come. So let's get right back to it. Yeah. Keep it positive. Energy up. All right, yeah. All right. Welcome back to Navigating the Modern World with Coach Eli, live here on YouTube, live on Coach Eli 2, authentic live streams, the most positive place on the internet. Glad you could all join me here tonight. I feel really, really good. I feel fantastic, and I hope you feel fantastic as well. Tonight is day 6 of the 30-day positivity challenge here on my channel and on YouTube. So come along and share your stories in the chat. Let me know what you're struggling with, and let's work through it together as one big, happy, positive team. What do you say? Before we get right back to it, I just want to remind all of you that this channel here is primarily funded through crowdfunding and your donations. So if you feel it in your heart that you're getting value here, please consider making a donation in any amount based on the value you feel you are receiving. You can do so in one of many ways. You can go to the bottom of the chat and hit the super chat or super sticker. You can also donate via PayPal and Cash App. Nightbot is sharing my Cash App and PayPal links in the chat every 7 minutes on PayPal. You can go to paypal.me/Coach Eli, and on Cash App, you can go to $The Real Coach Eli. And as always, donations are greatly appreciated, but they are not required. Now, let me make sure my audio is working fine, because I was having some audio glitches earlier. Hold on a second. Hold on.
As one big, happy, positive team. What do you say?
All right, we're good. Let's get right back to it here. All right. We've got California Forward Outdoors in the chat. She says, hey, Angie, does the C stand for California? That's probably her last name, California Forward Outdoors. Welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight? Just a reminder to everyone, including you, CFO, there is a 1-minute delay from what I say to what goes out to you folks out on YouTube if you're here live. So just keep that in mind. I'll get back to you folks as quickly as possible. So let's go ahead and get back to that blog we were going over. It's very, very interesting and spot on. Let's go back to the browser source. Oh, where is it? There it is. There it is. I thought it ran away from me. All right. So during the first part of the show, we started this blog regarding the 8 things that only truly miserable people do. And we're at number 5 now. If you missed the first part, go back and check out the first 4 parts on the replay. Number 5, they give lip. Miserable people give lip to whomever, whenever the opportunity arises. Wow, I could not have said that any better myself. Number 5, they give lip to whomever, whenever the opportunity arises. It doesn't really matter who you are. A miserable, losing my verbiage. Let's try that again. A miserable person, which is what I'm trying to say, is going to find anyone possible that will allow them to project their misery onto them and try to bring you down along with them. Miserable people don't really like people. Oh, wow. I think it's more so they don't like themselves, but yeah, they come off like they don't like people. They don't like themselves very much, so you can't expect them to like anyone else either. Let's read that one more time for the grown-ass adults out here on YouTube that don't seem to understand this. Miserable people don't really like people. They don't like themselves very much. So you can't expect them to like anyone else either. So if you hate yourself, all you're going to do, on social media and in the real world is project your hatred onto other people that, you encounter, especially people you perceive to be better than you or want to be like. For this reason, they like to give attitude to those they meet. So if you're a good person like myself and you're wondering why people are talking shit about you, giving you attitude, they're not being nice to you when you've done nothing wrong, this is the reason why. They don't like themselves. I've been saying this for years. It's the absolute truth. It's written here in this blog, for Christ's sake. This is something you will see clearly in a bigger city like New York. Miserable people will do their best to overreact or react inappropriately whenever they feel someone is annoying them. Well, they're annoyed just because of the fact that you're a happy person and they're not. It's plain and simple. That's it. That's all it is. This could be something as little as being bumped into on the train. Hey, you bumped into me. I'm sorry. It's crowded in here, right? A normal person would say, nothing, pretty much. And a person that bumps into someone will say, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. And then the other person will say, hey, it's okay, right? But people that are miserable will react to that and see it as something intentionally done or bad, just to give them a reason to overreact so they can try to feel better about themselves because they're miserable, right? They seem to have a switch that flips every time they get annoyed. Oh, it certainly does, which happens to be very often. Yeah, because they hate themselves. Miserable people have no issue with being rude. Let's repeat that one more time. Miserable people have no issue with being rude. Now, I'm not saying that positive people aren't rude at times. Yeah, we all have our moments. But when a positive person has a moment and is rude, they'll quickly identify and they'll say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm just having a bad day. Please forgive me. I'm sorry about that. Miserable people that are just unhappy within themselves, all day, every day, are just, going to be rude all the damn time, no matter what. Number 6. Let me check the chat here real quick. Give me a second. Got to clear the throat. 1 second, please. It's the allergies. Okay. We're good now. Number 6, they like to point out flaws in others. That's very kind of miserable people to point out flaws in others when they have the biggest flaw themselves. They hate themselves. That's the bottom line. See, in my opinion, miserable people should be pointing out the flaws in themselves. That makes them feel the need to point out flaws in others. Miserable people like to bring others down to their level. Wow, see, I've been saying this verbatim for years. Usually by pointing out everything they find wrong or unappealing about a person. I've had all these miserable people out here on YouTube point out every little aspect of my life, physically, mentally, emotionally, my stories, everything. Like miserable people will just never stop trying to kick someone down that they perceive to be better than them, right? Or want to be like. That's all you need to know, okay? They will briskly point out your insecurities and pretend like they didn't know what they were doing. Yeah, they like to act like, they're perfect and you're the one that's miserable, when the truth of the matter is what they're doing is just a direct reflection of how they see themselves. When you're, attacked by a miserable person, right? Again, all they're doing is what they see as a direct reflection of how they see themselves. That's it. But they did not know what they were doing. They wanted to see your reaction. That's all they want is your reaction. Out here on YouTube, they want your reaction to make content off of you. Okay? In the real world, they just want to get a reaction because if they can get you to react, then they know they have some control and they're getting to you and it's making them feel better that they're able to get your attention, right? That's all they want is your attention, right? So they wanted to see your reaction to see if your mood could be worsened in order to be up to par with theirs. Wow, food for thought. Let's read that one more time. They wanted to see your reaction to see if your mood could be worsened in order to be up to par with theirs. So I've always said when these people project their insecurities onto me or onto other people they perceive to be better than them or want to be like, it's because they're trying to kick you down to their level of misery so that way they can feel better. That's all it is. And if you as a good person can recognize that, you can avoid these types of people. And if you're this type of person, a miserable type of person, if you can learn to understand this, maybe it'll just turn your life around so you can stop being miserable, right? If these miserable people really, really took a moment to realize how they're coming off and why they're doing what they're doing, they would be ashamed of themselves and they would correct the issue. But they have to be open to identifying it and getting the help first. They have to help themselves first, also before anyone else can help them. Miserable people like to make themselves believe the world really is as ugly as they see it. And it's not. The world is going to be as beautiful as you want it to be. So they go pointing out the flaws and waiting for someone to agree with them. Yeah. It's like that cult of misery I was talking about earlier, in this show. Okay. So they go out pointing out the flaws and waiting for someone to agree with them. Out here on YouTube, what these people do, what these creators that are miserable do, is they will find other like-minded people, create this cult-like environment, and then attack one innocent, good person as a group, which makes the creator feel better temporarily or satisfied that they're, kicking down a good person. And then the people in the chat feel good that someone that's creating content is just like them. And it's just an endless vortex of shitty misery. That's all it is. That's all it is. Reaffirming their beliefs that what they are looking at really is as ugly and awful as they believe it to be. So again, let's read that one more time because it's a long sentence with a couple commas. Miserable people like to make themselves believe the world really is as ugly as they see it. So they go pointing out the flaws and waiting for someone to agree with them, reaffirming their beliefs that what they are looking at really is as ugly and awful as they believe it to be. And all it is a projection. Okay? It's a projection of a direct reflection of how they see themselves. That's it. That's all they're doing. And if other people join them on that mission of misery, it just continues to spiral downwards. My advice is don't get caught up with anyone like this or a group of people like this, because if you're a positive person that gets sucked into a group like this, you're going to become miserable too. Like attracts like. You are who you associate with. It's the truth. All right, number 7. We have a couple more to go. Get your questions in the chat, folks. We'll be going off the air probably in about 10 to 15 minutes. Oh, I went way down too far. What happened here? Did I skip? Oh, what happened? What the hell happened here? Give me a second here. I don't know what happened. I lost the page there. And I couldn't go back to it. It like dynamically changed on me in the middle of a show. All right, let's see. Give me a second here. Let me go back to full screen for a second. I'm almost set here, folks. Sorry about that. It keeps dynamically changing when I go past a certain point. It's not letting me. It's not letting me do this. This is weird. Let me see if I can try to fix this here real quick. Dang. This is odd. It's not letting me do this. Okay, I'm going to have to do this way here. It's going to be smaller. This is like a weird website here. So that's how I'm going to have to do this here. It's going to be smaller, folks. I apologize for that. Number 7, they don't like themselves very much, but still think they're better than the rest of the world. Miserable people are miserable first and foremost because they don't like themselves very much. Yeah, that's what we've been saying all along. It's the truth. That's a truth bomb. How about a double dose of a big truth bomb there? Yeah. Give me a second. Let me check out the chat here real quick. Scotty Unchained's in the house. Hey, all. Just got off work. Hey, Scotty Unchained 2.0. Welcome to the show. Day 6 of the 30-day positivity challenge. We're going to be going off the air in about 10 to 15 minutes max. So if you have any questions you want to ask in the chat or comments you want to make, feel free to get them in now, please. It may not even be all of them. It could just be one aspect of them that they find flawed that is weighing heavily on their minds. So people may not be completely dissatisfied with their life. They may only be dissatisfied with one major aspect, which is basically making them miserable overall. So while everything else might be going great for them, maybe they have a great job, they make great money, and maybe they have a great family and all that, but maybe they're struggling to find a special loved one to date or get married. That could make somebody miserable, right? If they allow it to. That's one example there. The flaws they see may not even really exist, but they believe they do, and that's enough for them. Right. Some people are just very, very hard on themselves, or it could be the people that they're hanging around, are such unreasonable people, or are such, picky people and very snobby type of people that, criticize every aspect of someone, of their friends, the way they look, the way they dress. You don't want to be around people that are going to criticize, the way you look, the way you dress. I mean, if it's constructive criticism and you ask for, your friend's opinion, hey, what do you think is holding me back from finding that special true love? Well, you're about 40, 50 pounds overweight. I'm only sharing this because you asked. I love you the way you are, but maybe that's affecting you from attracting the right person. It could be the clothing you're working. You're a little out of style. Maybe you want to change your style a little bit. But if you're going to give that type of feedback, make sure they ask for it first. Make sure your friends ask for it and let them know that you still love them the way they are. You're just saying, hey, this is what's probably more than likely holding you back from having that aspect, right? So the flaws they see may not even really exist, but they believe they do, and that's enough for them, right? It's more so about your attitude and how you show up mentally and emotionally. Yes, you need to physically look good, but I've seen people that don't have the greatest wardrobe, yet they know how to talk with people, and they're kind people, and they're more successful than, people who do dress well and all that and have a shitty attitude. Your attitude is what really matters here the most. They don't like themselves very much, but their ego still forces them to hold themselves in the highest regard. Right. Well, they're so miserable. When they project their misery onto other people, they try to come off like they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And that's a severe projection right there. It's a complete projection of their insecurities. Scotty says, so true. Almost all packed up for my trip. What's so true, Scotty? More specific, please. Oh, man. My allergies are really kicking my butt tonight. So I had to mute and clear my throat. What does this result in? Well, let's find out. Their belief that even though they may be a piece of shit, and I like how they star out the I in shit there, they're the best piece of shit on the planet. They may suck, but they believe everyone else sucks more. Scotty, I know several people out here on YouTube that feel exactly that way. Because I'll read that line again. This is what they think. Their belief that even though they may be a piece of crap, they're the best piece of crap on the planet. They may suck, but they believe everyone else sucks more. Yeah, I've seen people come out here and say, I'm a piece of crap, and you know what? I talk smack about people, but at least I own it. So, that makes me a better person than other people. No, it doesn't make you a better person. You're living in a false sense of reality. It's an insecurity. It's a projection. That's all it is. And those are the types of people that I just completely avoid. Let me see if I can get to the top here. There we go. And finally, last but not least, number 8, we're at 1 hour and 18 minutes. I was planning an hour and a half for this show, and we're going to end a little bit before that. That's a food attitude matters most. That's a good attitude. Good attitude matters most. And Scotty says she's tired. That's okay, Scotty. Not a big deal. We're almost done here anyway. But thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Number 8, they believe those who are happy must be ignorant, yet are still jealous they can't be as happy themselves. This is exactly how the majority of people that have attacked me on this platform feel about themselves. This is the home run right here, number 8. Let me read it one more time. They believe those who are happy must be ignorant, yet are still jealous they can't be as happy themselves. That's why they project. They're unhappy, and they see me as happy, or they see other happy people as happy. And because they feel in their head that if they can't be happy, then no one else should be allowed to be happy. So they're going to try to kick you down to their level so they can feel better about their pathetic, miserable selves and their lives. Their pathetic lives, miserable lives. Ignorance is bliss, and bliss is happiness. Interesting, but well said. Ignorance is bliss, and bliss is happiness. Well, not exactly. Being ignorant may make you happy. Oh, no, being ignorant has never made me happy. Never. Ignorance is not a good thing. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be happy if you're not ignorant. Well, if you're not ignorant, you're going to be happier, or you're going to be the happiest you can be. Miserable people would do much better trying to figure out how it is that happy people can be as happy as they are, instead of telling them they shouldn't be happy. Oh man, this blog is so obvious to me, and it's going to be obvious to most normal happy people. And to the people that are miserable, they're going to read this and realize that, yeah, it makes sense, but it's going to make them more mad than actually teach them how to not be miserable, which is the way they should be looking at it, right? Let me read that line one more time. It was great. Miserable people would do much better trying to figure out how it is that happy people can be as happy as they are instead of telling them they shouldn't be happy. Oh, Eli, you can't be happy because I'm not happy, right? Says who? Who the hell are you to tell me whether I should be happy or not? Who the hell are you to tell anyone whether they should be happy or not? That's their choice. If they choose to be happy, good for them. You choose to be miserable, then go do that in your own corner. Stay out of my space. You want to be welcomed into my space? Turn that attitude around. Start loving yourself, and then we can hang out all you want. Bottom line. Scotty says 100. Thank you for the 100, Scotty. Folks, get your final questions, comments, concerns in the chat. We'll be going off the air in a few. That if they were smarter, more intelligent, they would just be as miserable as they. Okay, let me read that whole thing again. Miserable people would do much better trying to figure out how it is that happy people can be as happy as they are instead of telling them they shouldn't be happy. That if they were smarter, more intelligent, they would be just as miserable as they. It's all a projection. Miserable people equals projection of an insecurity or many insecurities. That's all it is. You work through the insecurities and learn to love yourself more. You will no longer be miserable. You'll be just as happy as us happy people. That's it. Bottom line. All right. Final line here. Maybe those people know something that the miserable person doesn't. Being miserable is fixable, but only if you believe someone out there has it right, even if you don't. Even if you yourself don't. This is why I do what I do. Humbly speaking, wholeheartedly. Listen to this last line here. Please try to understand this if you are an unhappy person and you spend most of each of your days trying to attack and kick other people down just because you're unhappy, right? Maybe those people know something that the miserable person doesn't. We do. We know how to be happy, and we can help you become happy if you allow us to. That's if you allow us to. Being miserable is fixable, but only if you believe someone out there has it right. I feel I have it right. I know I have it right. And I want to help you learn to make it right if you allow me to. Even if you yourself don't, meaning if you don't have it right, right? I don't hate anyone. I love the world. I love people. But there's so much misery. There's so much misery. Let me go back to full screen. Sorry. There's so much misery in this world today. And it's just really, really sad. And the internet has allowed us to project more of that misery and make it more apparent. That's what the internet has done. Don't let the internet or anything else affect how you live your life. Okay? Be a happy person. Learn to love yourself. And once you learn to love yourself, it's going to open up doors you could have never imagined possible. Everything will change. And you'll lose that attitude, and you will no longer feel the need to kick down other people that you perceive to be better than you. That's where I'm going to wrap this show here today at 1 hour and 25 minutes. 1 hour and 25 minutes. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you, Scotty Unchained 2.0, for stopping by. Thank you to California Fort Outdoors for being here. And Awesome Skeleton earlier, Angie C., Tom, and anyone else that was watching. I'll be back tomorrow for one show, more than likely just one show. It's probably going to be an evening show from the studio. Day 7 of the Positivity Challenge. I'm going to be taking my lady back to her place tomorrow. It's going to be a 3 or 4 or 5 hour round trip. And, we have some other things to do in the morning. So you'll get one show from me tomorrow night here. No walk tomorrow. That'll be back on Tuesday. With that being said, have yourselves a great one. Take care. And as always, be good to each other.